memory lane, where I went to high school, where I played ball, where so-and-so, me and so-and-so got in trouble, the movie theater, where my dad worked, just stuff like that. It was good to go on that nostalgia trip. Met some friends, had lunch with my mentor and his family, Shannon, who taught me student ministry. And we met some other buddies that I'm going to discuss this. So, at the beginning of the sermon, if you don't get anything at all, here's the statement I want you to remember. Ministry is the action of bringing people to Jesus. Ministry is the action of bringing people to Jesus. So now, with that being said, I want to read this verse in Proverbs, and John will throw it up. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born in difficult times. As I said, I went to see a lot of people. We were tired the last 2 days. I was excited about being home. I can relax a little bit. But then, of course, me and Ashley had to hit the ground running with everything else. John, put that picture up. Boom! All right, the good-looking guy in yellow, that's me. All right. The other guys, me and these guys have been friends for 15 years. 15 years. A lot of these guys were friends before that. They went to high school. Some of them went to high school together. I met these guys when I was in junior college. A lot has changed in 15 years. One of these men is a father of 3. One of these guys is a stepdad. We've moved back and forth in Mississippi. Some of us does pretty well in our jobs. Some of us, struggle a little bit. But hey, I'm doing better. I promise. So one thing you notice is the guy sitting down. His name is Adam. Adam's got spina bifida. Well, and that just means he has no use of his legs. He can't use his legs. So with that verse I told you in Proverbs 17:17, a friend loves at all times, but a brother is born in difficult times. I can honestly say, the most beautiful thing about this friendship, it is brotherhood. It's been a brotherhood that's been through many different states. It's been a brotherhood that's been through many difficult times. I led my friend Tim to Christ. He was in that picture. And his sister passed away while we were in junior college. Most of y'all know my mom passed away a few years ago, and they were there for me. Jay went through some difficult times with struggle of getting married and having kids and stuff like that. And of course, Adam, we like having Adam around. We love Adam. But sometimes having Adam with us presents challenges. What are we going to do? What car are we going to take? How are we going to get tickets if we want to go to WrestleMania? What are we going to do? How are we going to transport? Oh, we got to find a bigger vehicle. Who's going to take the wheelchair and move it around? How is he going to get up and down this? He presents a little bit of challenges. And he does a good job helping us out. If you see him, he's got like Popeye forearms too, because he does this all the time. And he's a great guy. But we're so used to just having Adam with us. And we love it. And we don't need to look at those as challenges anymore. A lot of us don't even think what we should do. We just kind of do it. So, we're going to be in Mark chapter 2. So, the verse is going to be up there. We're not doing NIV because I'll just be honest with you. By the time I had this sermon written out, you can tell I went to Mississippi, can't you? I was already on my version, and so I didn't want to look back through it. But we're looking at this different version this Sunday. And we're going to talk about a story that Jesus, about a paralyzed man. Verses 1 through 3. When he entered Capernaum, begins again after some days, it was reported that he was at home. So many people gathered together that there was no more room, not even in the doorway. And he was speaking the message to them. Then they came to him, bringing a paralytic carried by 4 men. Okay, now, you know what story I'm getting into. If you're a seasoned Christian, you kind of know what story I'm getting into, but we're going to look at it a little bit of a different eyes. All right? And I'm going to tell you some personal stories too. So we look at this. First of all, there was some good stuff going on. Jesus was preaching, he was talking, people wanted to hear it. It was packed. Well, we're not that packed. I mean, but that's okay. But it was packed. Wow. There was some good stuff being taught, being preached, being presented. People wanted to see and hear what Jesus had to say. Imagine that, guys. How many of y'all have been to a big event? I mean, I always brag, I've been to WrestleMania 30 before I moved. I was at WrestleMania here. I went to a Saints game with Bob in Baltimore. It was packed. You know, me and Ashley have been to concerts. That was packed. I've been to church events. That was packed. I've been to places that was packed. How crazy is that? Think about that. You're trying to go through traffic and stuff like that, trying to make it out, because it's so busy and it's so packed. But here's these 4 men. Now imagine, technology back in those days, it wasn't just push them in a wheelchair. Ashley tells me stories, you know, if you know what she does for a living, she has to deal with a lot of this and lift vans and wheelchairs and stuff like that. It can be hard, but imagine back in that time, 4 men is carrying this one guy. They didn't have a wheelchair problem. I'm almost guaranteed they didn't have it. And think about how taxing on a body that can be these 4 men. They didn't have cars, so they probably walked them too. How crazy can that be? How tiring can that be? We go on to verses 4 and 5. Since they were not able to bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, here's the fun part. They removed the roof above where he was. Whoa. And when they had broken through, they lowered the mat on which the paralytic was lying. Seeing their faith, the 4 men, Jesus told the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." So imagine that, guys. Imagine if we were all packed. Imagine if, you know, we were here, and I'm going to say if Christian was preaching, because, you know, everybody's running away from me. But all of a sudden we see people come through. First of all, I'll be the first one to freak out too. I'll be like, "What are you doing?" I would be the first one to freak out. And I'm pretty sure that there was people amongst that crowd freaking out. What's going on here? And I'm just imagining Jesus going, "I like this. Wow. Okay, I see what's going on here." So, here's Jesus. These 4 men wanted to get their friend to Jesus. And I think that it was their friend, because think about this. How much struggle would you go to if it was just your job? "Oh, well, we tried, it's packed, let's go home." We give up. But these 4 men, I suspect, was a friend of this paralyzed man, because who would climb a roof for a guy just to lower him down into a building? Wow. That is an amazing thing. And also, Jesus says, seeing their faith as in the 4 men, he told the guy, the paralyzed man, "Your sins are forgiven." These guys did something extreme. Now imagine this, and me and Tim would be one of these 2. You know, if we had a situation like that with Adam, what did we do? Me and Tim would probably be one of the first 2 to go through the roof. And then my friend Jay, the dad of 3 boys, would be like, I don't know. And then my friend JC, who works in insurance, would be like, oh, the legal ramifications of this. But, you know, but Jesus saw what they were doing. Saw their faith. Wanted their friend to see Jesus so bad that they didn't care about that. They wanted to lower him and get him in front of Jesus. So let's talk about that. We left off in verse 5 where he says your sins are forgiven. But some scribes were sitting there thinking to themselves, "Why does he speak like this? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Right away, Jesus understood in his spirit that they were thinking like this within themselves, and said to them, Jesus didn't keep it inside, Why are you thinking these things in your heart? One thing you notice, and just a little information about scribes, when I researched and studied it, the simple answer to what they are. They're smart people who translate religious texts and historical documents. They were like on par with, priests and all that. So, they were some smart kids. And they translated all this. And so now they're going, who can speak like this but God? But here's the thing. They weren't speaking out loud. They were saying it to themselves. Now, I know sometimes my filter, you can ask Christian, is not that good. Sometimes it just, Ashley's even experienced this many times too. Sometimes what goes here comes out right here. And that can be a dangerous thing. But these scribes were just thinking about it. They were just thinking it to themselves. Kept to themselves. But Jesus said, no, I'm going to answer this. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And he's asked, why are you thinking this in your heart? And we go to verses 9 and the first part of verse 10. Which is easier to say to a paralytic man, your sins are forgiven, or to get up and pick up your mat and walk? So that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sin. Jesus said, watch this. And he didn't do it in a braggadocious way. He knew he had to prove he was the Son of God, and he could do this. And he basically said, watch this. So the last part of 10 all the way to 12. He told a paralytic man, I tell you, get up. Get up, pick up your mat, go home. Immediately, that man, he got up, picked up his mat, went out in front of everyone. As a result, they were all astounded. Everybody in the room was all astounded. All astounded, and gave glory to God, saying, we have never seen anything like this. Think about the actions that was presented here. Jesus was speaking good stuff. Jesus wanted to share. Four friends wanted their buddy to come up and hear it. There was no room. They couldn't get him through. They went through the roof, guys. By any means, they did anything to get their friend to Jesus. The friend was forgiven and healed. What an amazing story that is. No matter if you've heard this all your life or just now, it is an amazing story to talk about. Because it's going to be one of my points we mentioned. I was going to make a reference to the rich young ruler, that story. In Matthew 19, Mark 10, and Luke 18, there's a story called, and most of it's called the rich young ruler, where a rich young cat goes to Jesus and said, hey, I've done everything. What do I need to do? Jesus said, give away all your stuff, follow me. And he left crying because he had a lot of good stuff. So we hear that story too. And there's 5 points here between those two stories I want to make to y'all. Ministry is hard. It is hard. As I referenced about those 4 men carrying that paralyzed guy to Jesus, it couldn't be an easy thing, could it? No, it can't be. Technology wasn't there. They probably didn't have a wheelchair. Oh my goodness, the thing is crowded. What did it do? Oh, let's climb a roof. Who came up with that idea? And then they can do what? Dig a hole and burrow through. That would be my second idea. No, you're good. Ministry. So it was hard for them. In ministry, it was hard. But think about this. Still on the same points, ministry is hard. How easy might have that been for them? Because they loved that man. Because they cared for that man. I tell you the story about Adam. How it's not even really a struggle for us to figure everything out anymore because we enjoy it. My aunt passed away, one of my aunts passed away not too long ago, and when I was calling my cousin to get a place to stay for my family reunion next week, the first question was, I know your Mother's Day was rough, because it was her mom that passed away. And my aunt was going through some health problems. She was 75 or something like that. She was going through some health problems. And of course, my way of thinking is, I know you're going to miss your mom, but it's going to be a relief. And she goes, no, I enjoy it every day. I enjoy taking care of my mom every day. And she is struggling right now because she can't take care of her mom. And that speaks a lot because she loved her mom that much. When I first held Christmas camp, I told people, I still wish my mom was around. I would take that challenge. So ministry is hard, but it can get easier if you really care about the people. If you really care about who you're ministering to. That is probably what makes some ministers different than others. I like working with Christian because I know he cares about people. I think Christian likes me because he knows I really care about people, especially young people. And it's easy when you care about people to minister, no matter how hard ministry is. Next point. Everyone should do it. Guys, we are blessed with the opportunity that everyone should minister. All right? I have the fortunate situation where I can walk into the schools. I know a lot of the students here can say they've seen me there. I know they've seen me at the schools. And that's a great blessing to have. But you know who I admire the most? I admire the principals. I admire the teachers like Liz. I admire the secretaries. I admire the bus drivers. I admire people who work every day with these kids. And that just shows anyone can do it. Whether you're working in hospice and you're ministering to a family who's about to have a family member pass away, you're a nurse at the hospital, or you're a business owner like Danny. You have an opportunity to minister. Everybody has one. And that is the biggest thing. Think about this. Jesus retired about the age of 30 because he was a carpenter. He retired about the age of 30 and did full-time ministry pretty much. Even Jesus built stuff. The third point, sometimes we need to think outside the box. Think about this. Lifeway, that Christian bookstore in Hagerstown, there's about 175 stores or something like that. They're about to shut down all those stores? You know why? Because online ordering brings in money. They said there's no sense in keeping this store open when we're having a hard time to open it. Let's just go online. And yeah, you know what? I'm one of them. I'm going to miss going to Lifeway and just going around the CDs and stuff like that. Walking in, not buying anything, leaving. I'm going to miss that. But Lifeway said, you know what? We got to think. We have a responsibility that we have to keep our business going for the glory of God. And this is the direction that we're going. So think about this. Even online ordering's gotten so big that there's a day after Black Friday called Cyber Monday. I mean, how many of us is order? Literally, how many order something online? Raise your hand. Anybody order anything online? And I know some of you are like, listen, it's the culture now. So think outside the box. Especially maybe sometimes ministry happens outside these walls. Okay? Me and Christian, we're always at the coffee shop. I'm always at the schools. The one thing that caught my eye about Ashley was what she does for a living. How she will take care of people with disabilities. That caught my eye. And I said, well, that's a ministry right there as well. Now, so just think about that. Maybe sometimes ministry happens in a room with a few other guys at a high school. Maybe ministry happens when you're talking to somebody who's homeless at a coffee shop. Maybe ministry happens when you get in a car accident at the airport. Ministry can happen anywhere, guys. The fourth point, you're still going to have doubters. Or as I called it back in my decade, haters. You're still going to have doubters and haters. That's just going to be, anything you do, you're just going to have people who are just don't like what you do, don't like the way you do things. But then you're going to have people who loves the way you're doing it, and that's okay. Everybody. I'm not going to take what my sister said, but, just everybody's got opinions. And that's great. That's great. So everybody's got doubters and haters. That's just the way it goes. No matter what you do in your career, you're going to have doubters. Any teachers over here get called in to, or, if you're a teacher, I got called in to a couple of these things about how you're teaching. From a guy who's probably never taught a ninth grader in their life, right, Liz? I've gotten advice on how to coach from a guy who's never coached football in their life. It's just the nature of the beast. And anything you do, you're still going to have haters, doubters. They'll let them get to you. And the last point, just like the last bit of that story, Jesus, God can still work miracles. Being saved from an eternal damnation of hell is a miracle, guys. No matter how much you want to water it down, it's a miracle. Eternity in hell, I don't think I'm going to take that ticket. I just went to Mississippi. That was, warm. I want to read this Bible verse, Romans 15, 18 through 19. It's going to be popped up there. And this is called, For I would not dare say anything except what Christ has accomplished through me to make Gentiles, make everybody, obedient by word and deed, by the power of miraculous signs and wonders, by the power of God's Spirit. Spirit is capitalized. As a result, I have fully proclaimed the good news, the gospel, about the Messiah from Jerusalem all the way around Illyricum. I've been having to work on that pronunciation. That's about the distance from here to Boston. So, Paul has proclaimed the gospel through words, deeds, miraculous signs, wonders, but most of all through God's Spirit. Actually, this is time.